Imagine a video game city that's not just a backdrop, but a character that evolves and resonates with players across generations. Welcome to Kamurocho, Japan's most iconic video game city, a place where multiple stories unfold, legends are born, and every corner holds its own secret. But just how does this relatively small sandbox host 8 mainline games, along with numerous spin-offs? Well, that's what we're uncovering today as we explore the layers of Kamurocho's evolution, its influence on players, and its narrative significance to the series. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this journey. Kamurocho was first introduced in Yakuza 1 back on the PS2, making its debut as a near-identical recreation of Tokyo's bustling Kabukicho district in Shinjuku. Despite being a smaller map than other games at the time, like GTA or True Crime, its lifelike design immediately immersed players in an authentic virtual version of Tokyo. Kabukicho was also the perfect setting due to its history with the real Yakuza, with many considering it the hub of their Tokyo operations. But what's truly remarkable from a game design standpoint is that Kamurocho's layout has remained almost entirely unchanged from its initial 2005 debut. In a world where game settings often reinvent and modernize their original takes, this singular location has stood as the stage for every Yakuza game, and the city seamlessly adapts to help tell new narratives. Whether we're exploring different time periods, or simply just getting technological advancements for the player, Kamurocho isn't just a setting, it's a character in its own right, changing but staying true to its foundation. Before I played my first Yakuza game, I was really into the idea of expansive open worlds. My belief was simple: a larger map equated to a better gameplay experience. But the Yakuza series completely flipped my perspective on that outlook. Despite being a small map, Kamurocho manages to compact so much detail into it. It's the small things that really make this world feel lived in. Navigating from one point to another can be a quick breeze if you wish to do so, but the city almost tempts you to get involved into other activities. Whether a group of Yakuza want to engage in combat, or you stumble across an interesting sub-story, or even if you spontaneously decide to get a high score on golf. The sheer density of events and encounters makes it so it's easy to go off track from the main story, a facet in which other open world games, like GTA, often fail to do because the map is so overwhelmingly huge. And that's one of my main criticisms of Yakuza 7, where they introduced Ijincho, a map that's considerably larger than Kamurocho, thus losing that compact immersion that Kamurocho had. While size and scale undoubtedly have their merits, it's a thoughtful integration of content and detail within a virtual city that can truly cultivate a space where it serves as a pillar of the game itself. Of course, the use of Kamurocho in its 18-year history means that it's developed deep attachment within the community. Having personally played every mainline game in the series, I can attest to the resonance I feel towards the streets of Kamurocho, and I can 100% say that Yakuza games just wouldn't hit the same if this location wasn't present. Not that it needs to be the focal point of future games, but having it still make an appearance in some way to embrace its tradition. I'd argue it's one of the highlights to look forward to of each entry, since there's always something new, and each iteration feels like a time capsule in itself. So I never really have any complaints whenever I replay a game, since the old mechanics are part of the charm. I'd also argue it's made players crave less for larger maps, as seen in this poll I set up a few weeks ago, asking viewers of their preference for map size of future games, and I couldn't agree more with the results. It's obvious that players would want another detailed map like Kamurocho, and it's all because that Kamurocho taught us that a smaller space can work even better than a large detailed map, if given the right content. I mentioned Kamurocho serving as a time capsule, but that's only one of the ways that RGG Studio have managed to keep the city fresh. One of the standout methods they use is shedding a different perspective through their diverse sequels. That way it's not just about changing the time period, it's about exploring different angles that haven't been covered in their mainline titles. Take Kuroyo for example. This was the first Kamurocho-based spin-off to feature an entirely new character and story, separate from the Yakuza drama we're used to. yet it's still set within the same world, being entirely recreated on the PSP, and I can't name many other games that did something similar. And story-wise, Tatsuya's experience provides a younger, rebellious outlook on Tokyo's red light district, leading to a nice change of pace from what we're used to. The Judgment games are recent spin-offs, and they do a great job at immersing you in Kamurocho from the perspective of more regular people. With the Yakuza games, we're so focused on the dominant forces of the city, but the Judgment games do a great job at sharing closer stories that are more in depth with the people who reside there. Yakuza Dead Souls was a spin-off that drastically transformed Kamurocho into a zombie what-if scenario, and showed how it can seamlessly adapt to even the craziest of genres without losing its identity. In essence, Kamurocho is a canvas that can change to fit story and gameplay elements so that it stays fresh. But before we move on to the next section, let's play a quick game of Name That Landmark. Can you guess what this building is? Bonus points if you can guess what specific game this is from. Anyways, following on from that segment, Kamurocho constantly adds importance to various locations. Let's delve into some prime examples, starting with Sky Finance, a location initially introduced in Yakuza 4. At first you might not care so much. It's a business owned by Shun Akiyama in Kamurocho, but the surprise comes when you realize it's a floor above the Serena Bar, which is basically Kiryu's safe house for the first few games. I remember this revelation shocking me. It was such a cool detail, and it opened up a whole new perspective I had of the city. I realized there's so many secrets on every corner, and RGG Studio have a potential to make a story out of literally anything. Speaking of the Serena Bar though, that's also a recurring location that has been subject to many historical events of the Yakuza timeline, and it continues to be evolved with new entries. It's seen all kinds of characters and stories, making it one of the most important locations of the series. So I would be very surprised if they decided to stop using it in some way. Shangri-La is also an interesting example, because while it hasn't really been utilized since the first two games, the events that transpired are still referenced in newer titles. It's even randomly revealed to be the birthplace and home to Ichiban Kasuga in Yakuza 7, which, as I stated before, shows that RGG Studio can make a story out of literally anything. Other notable locations include West Park / Camaro Hills, Stardust, and the Millennium Tower. All of these locations have been shown across different time periods, playing their unique narrative roles and contributing to the world building of Kamurocho. Besides the notable ones I told you, you will see all sorts of new establishments often being tied into the story. Yakuza 4 especially demonstrates this, since I'd argue it was one of the most complete versions of Kamurocho. They let you traverse the rooftops, explore Kamurocho's underground, as well as just provide certain locations that you weren't able to access in any other Yakuza game. So many secrets and passages were uncovered, making it feel much more dynamic than just a static city that's the same in every iteration. The Millennium Tower is undoubtedly the iconic landmark of Kamurocho. Despite being used for multiple climactic moments of the series, it never feels old, and I can appreciate that. Like the Serena Bar, it embodies Kamurocho's spirit, being ambitious, enduring, and rich with history. Its dual significance as both an iconic landmark and the site of narrative climaxes showcases how a single location can encapsulate the essence of an entire series. It's not just a structure, it's a testament to the journeys, the battles, and the triumphs that define the Yakuza universe. Also, fun fact, the IRL equivalent of the Millennium Tower was actually built years after the tall landmark first appeared in the exact same location. Makes me wonder if they took any inspiration from the games, since the Yakuza series was a cultural hit in Japan. Kamurocho's transformation from its early inception to becoming Japan's quintessential video game city is a remarkable journey that mirrors the Yakuza series' evolution. What began as a mere digital landscape has become an iconic representation of urban life, etching itself into gaming culture. Throughout the Yakuza series, Kamurocho's role transcends being a backdrop. It's a protagonist, with its vibrant streets drawing players in and telling all sorts of touching stories. And as the series is currently undergoing major changes, game design wise, the desire for a new location similar to Kamurocho increases. I would love another video game city that has the same compact charm as Kamurocho, and while RGG Studio might have missed the mark with Jincho, I hope they realize their mistakes and we get something closer to the new map we all want. I'd love to hear your tales of what Kamurocho means to you and how it's affected your outlook on open world games. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you could like and subscribe. I frequently post discussions about the Yakuza series, so if you're interested, go watch some of my other videos. And until next time gamers,